It is not something that a regime that is worth the name is supposed to mention. Actually, those are things that send ripples throughout the world. And that is the beginning of the collapse of Kenya shilling. Where does he get the audacity to tell us there are 2,000 public servants with fake certificates when his own governor of Nairobi does not have university education? Kenyans deserve this regime because they voted, because they were hypnotized through religion. They voted because they were told there was something called bottom-up. Now it is the bottom collapsing.
What an honor, what a pleasure to have you on Business Glide, your only point of call on matters public policy analysis, business and economics at large. I am yours truly, resident economist here, Richard Mwenjo. It is such a distinct honor to have you on board and with me today to help me dissect the day's conversation, touching on the wage bill crisis, the ballooning wage bill crisis, is none other than the think tank himself, former cabinet minister, the first of his name, Ruto Arab Kiro.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking sharp as always, yes, Parliament blue shirt.
And you have made me analyze a lot of economics, which is supposed to be your purview. Yeah, so.
but anyway, you did hold a very critical and strategic office during your heydays, during Kibaki 1 government.
Yes.
And many people feel that you are so much informed about public policy.
Yes.
So I feel anytime I'm near you, I tap into your knowledge.
Oh, thank you.
And you've somewhat seen it all.
And also experience. Yeah, perhaps experience is assisting me because they say when you make mistakes, it's not a problem. But try to learn from your mistakes. So the mistakes I made sort of have assisted me to learn how to address issues of society, including issues of wage bill, issues of human resource complement, and so forth.
Very well. I now think World Bank and the IMF should be watching our shows regularly. Do you think so?
They should, and they should also listen to organic, what I call organic answers that we give to them. They should not be giving us prescription. Even the best of doctors, they will ask you how you are feeling before they give you prescription. But they prescribe by looking at you, they say this guy must be having malaria. Or this guy has a problem like 1 or 2. So they should actually be spending more time to listen to organic solutions. Because World Bank, and I've challenged even the best of professionals, World Bank and IMF, most of their projects are grandiose, projects for large magnitude. They do not give projects that have a social transformative agenda. Transformative agenda in the sense that agenda that changes the ability for me to have money in my pocket, the ability for the hustler to have money in his pocket. In fact, Kibaki did better than the hustler government in terms of allowing small people with small source of income to own motorbikes by reducing the cost of motorbikes. That is how Kibaki was able to open and revolutionize that space of transport.
Very well.
And today, I can ask for anything from any corner of this town, and within half an hour, I already have it at my doorstep. That is something that we should be thinking. Now, you find most of those young men and women, they are now stationary at various centers. They are playing pool because there are no passengers to be transported. Because you see, economy is about transactions. The more the transactions, the better it is for you as an economic entity. So you know better than I do, but that is the way it is. The more the transactions, the more the volume of business, and the higher is the profit. But if you reduce transactions, that in the morning you send somebody to buy you a newspaper, then at 2 o'clock you send him to get you a packet of milk, then in the evening, 3 transactions is not going to pay even for the motorbike itself.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Sticking in the corridors of our development partners, and particularly IMF and World Bank, oftentimes they have helped us restructure economy pre-COVID and even post-COVID. And one way they have helped the Kenyan economy is by putting in programs that will help us address our balloon wage bill as a country. And the most recent sort of recommendation and proposal from the Public Service CS Moses Kuria is that one of the transition, the need for us to transit all public servants from permanent and pensionable terms to contractual terms in a bid to ramp up productivity, and also for the government to be able to sort of finance that particular wage bill. Do you somewhat read that there could be the handwriting of IMF and World Bank in such proposals?
If they are, then they are ill-informed. They are ill-informed because there are many ways you can address the wage bill without necessarily making public servants have a certain future. Even companies that believe in contract in the private sector, there is a certain level of cadre that contract stops. Otherwise, the ordinary people, the sweepers and so forth, what kind of contract are you going to have with the sweepers? What kind of contract? What are you going to tell somebody? That you must sweep so many times for you to qualify to renew the contract?
Security of tenure.
Yeah, that's the main problem. So there are many ways you can address the wage bill. And I've given suggestions in the past. One, the complement that you have you done an audit to ask yourselves, you have 14,000 people working in a certain parastatal.
Sure.
Do you require all the 14,000? To the skills they possess, complementary to the capacity, to the tasks in front of them? Or are you having 14,000 people, of which 12,000 have irrelevant skills to the industry that they are working for? That is one way of trying to address the issue of wage bill. I've said it and nobody seems to be listening. We've said that it is important that we ask ourselves, how many ghost workers do we have? Every day you read, State House are so many ghost workers. Parliament are so many ghost workers. Certain counties, they seem to be paying salary to one account of two or three people. What does it mean? It means one person has some ghost workers, because how would you allow your salary to come through my account?
A case of budgeted corruption?
Yeah, that's it. One? That's it. So why don't they flush out the ghost workers? Number three, duplication of roles. I usually give the example of ward administrator, MCA, and the chief in Kaplamai. Can they, are the tasks being performed by the three, can they collapse into one or at least two people? Then the other person, you see what you can do. The entire provincial administration system was outlawed by the current constitution, but the regime of the day has brought it back because it's a convenient way of trying to fill the purse rate of the nation. The third issue that we need to ask ourselves, when did we review the performance of these public servants? When did we last promote them in various ministries? Is there anything that we can do to improve their motivation and therefore improve their productivity, instead of saying we are placing them on contract? The controller of budget,
Margaret Nyakango,
said the other day that her salary is budgeted for 3 times the actual salary she takes home. What have we done to make sure that it is not replicated in many other departments? So before we think of drastic measures such as changing the paradigm of people being on permanent and pensionable terms, we need to rethink what is happening. We also need to do what we call SWOT analysis, ask ourselves, the countries that have done what we want to do, what were the obtaining conditions in those countries when they made that particular decision? So that we just don't bring cut and paste. It is supposed to be a process where we ask ourselves, why did we employ people in the first place? It is because we wanted them to perform certain things. Why did we start parastatals like in the sugar subsector? We wanted to give employment and create wealth in those places. Is that objective still relevant today? If the answer is yes, then why don't we improve productivity without sending people to uncertain terms?
Mm-hmm. It makes sense.
The other thing which is also still very important is, remember what the governor of Kisii did. He took vehicles to the field and he told each driver to stand next to his car. Some vehicles had more than 5 drivers. Some fellows were not there, which means they were ghost workers. Now, whatever he did after that, I don't know, because he should have used that now and created a model that we can borrow and use it elsewhere. Finally, on this particular issue of the wage bill, where did we take the public servants that used to work for certain county councils when we transited into county governments? Where are they? Are they still in the system? Of course, it's more than 15 years. But if somebody was 20 years, he's still in the system.
True.
Yeah, because he's still working. So where have we put those people? Mm-hmm. Did we hand over assets and liabilities minus human resource? These are some basic questions that we need to ask ourselves. And before we make any decision, we do thorough exercise. We say Kenya, and something I forgot, Richard.
Sure.
The fake certificate. The president himself said 2,000 K. Is it?
Yeah, over 2,000 Kenyan.
Yes,
civil servants.
Fake certificates.
Sure.
What have we done? Are they really fake? Or is it that, yes, I started with a diploma. Now I have 2 masters. Are these masters relevant to the job I'm doing? Or are those certificates fake by virtue of that I did not go to school and I have a certificate that I qualify to do this engineering job, which I don't have the certificate? Mm-hmm. And you know, it's dangerous, and this is why I think the president should improve his communication. Mm-hmm. When you tell Kenyans you have people with fake certificates and you do nothing about it, you are actually downgrading all our certificates. Any degree, like your degree and my degrees, mm-hmm. are now being downgraded by the fact that a pronouncement has come from the president in his own words, admitting that he has 2,000 civil servants with fake certificates and is doing nothing.
Blanket condemnation.
Blanket condemnation. Mm-hmm. And we don't know how many of those people are being mistaken to have fake certificates, mm-hmm. only to realize that, yes, somebody may be a teacher, and when he took leave from TSC, he went, instead of doing another degree in teaching, somebody decided to do something in international relations, which therefore allows the person to say, if I miss something in teaching, I can go to foreign missions.
True. Then
you say that's fake certificate. So this must be properly defined. Mm-hmm. Now, where does he get the audacity to tell us there are 2,000 public servants with fake certificates when his own governor of Nairobi does not have university education? When he calls Sudi an engineer, when he knows Sudi never even went to a technical school. If he was in a technical school, we can say he's an engineer at this level. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether he finished a primary. And Sudi has a case with anti-corruption. If he's looking at 2,000 public servants, he should start with Sudi. He should start with Sakaja. So that we talk, we walk the talk. Otherwise, it's dangerous.
So on the fight against graft and impunity in public service, are you saying the president is leading from the front line on matters extreme impunity?
He's part of impunity himself. Because you see, how do you dare call somebody who did not complete primary education an engineer? You know, it's an insult to engineering profession. It's an insult to give somebody a certificate in a certain corner of the hotel and call him that he has a degree from Teams.
Amesema lazima iwork. Systems in Nairobi lazima ziwork.
But they are not working now.
Even with the floods?
It starts with a fake certificate. Uh-huh. And I'm told they had ordered a port. I don't know. They should have hired. They had ordered some time back when there was suspected El Nino. So I don't know whether they returned it or they are still using it. Mm-hmm. Or was it meant for the governor himself? so that he can visit to flooded places on board. I don't know. So these are some of the things that when we breed bad manners, it catches up with us.
Very well.
I've told you, in Tanzania they had to fight 3 things: ufisadi, ukabila, na ubabe. And the president himself had to lead by example, including in 1964 or thereabout, ringing his bank manager that because he had just paid school fees for his children, he be given time to adjust so that he can pay the mortgage for the house that he had taken from the bank.
Very well.
For the president to ring the bank and request for that kind of adjustment, when we, ordinary mortals in Kenya, we believe that we should not even be seen to be broke. And the only way you can take away your brokenness because you spend more than you get is to steal from the public coffers. These are some of the things that we must ask ourselves tough questions. And Kenyans deserve better. But Kenyans deserve this regime because they voted, because they were hypnotized through religion. They voted because they were told there was something called bottom-up. Now it is the bottom collapsing.
They made their own bed and they're now lying on it.
They must lie on it.
You are at some point a minister of a critical docket, that is agriculture. And I'm curious to understand, do you credit the current CS for public service, Moses Kuria, with deep thinking, especially on his pronouncement on matters to do with the need to transition all permanent and pensionable civil servants to contractual terms? Do you think that is a product of deep thinking?
Well, it must be informed by certain experience, but I would expect, because I saw a letter asking certain cadre of officers to meet in the office of the president, I do hope he's preparing a cabinet memo, which cabinet memo shall be taken to the cabinet, and with the advice of other people within the cabinet, and with the advice of technical staff, he'll be able to process that. And once it is passed by the cabinet, you'll be able to advance the issue to parliament, and the committees in parliament will also process, so that we, members of the public, have a chance to go for public participation, which is required by the law and the constitution.
Very well. And for a country that sort of has decried that they inherited dilapidated coffers and the economy was beaten by the previous regime, and what they inherited was one that was in tatters, do you think they're justified to say they cannot finance the concerns, say of the striking doctors, saying their hands are tied financially? Do you think Kenya is in a constrained fiscal space whereby we cannot afford to look at the remuneration conversation as a whole?
You know, even that statement is fallacious. It's a fallacy in the sense that money is never kept in treasury like the way you keep your money in the account. Any money that gets in through revenue collection gets out through expenditure. That's why every month, every ministry is given what we call treasury issue. And at times that treasury issue is below the expected for each ministry. So it becomes under issue because of limited resources. To say that they expected to find almost all the money for the next financial year in the treasury is fallacious, ill-informed, and it is a product of shallow thinking. It is dangerous when it comes from senior people, and it's dangerous because you would have expected now they should be having people in court that you are responsible for depleting the economy of Kenya by taking away money that was meant to stay in treasury. So it is something that I would want to treat with contempt, and I do not want to give a lot of explanation because it is ill-informed. It is not something that a regime that is worth the name is supposed to mention. Actually, those are things that send ripples throughout the world, and that is the beginning of the collapse of Kenya shilling, the way it was declining, because you are telling us you do not even have capacity to be trusted. And if I can't trust you, if something you are going to pay me 10,000, I'll make it 15, so that if you pay me 8 and you run away, I will lose only 2,000 shillings. So you see, economy is a product of transactions. And it's also a product of actions. And some of the actions is what you verbalize. If you verbalize something negative, you destroy the economy. You know, even in what do you call it? In stock exchange or securities exchange, they call it today. One person making a statement and he occupies a critical position, the shares will come down.
True.
Or the shares will go up. So you just need to be careful about what you say.
Very well.
Yep.
And very lastly, in the interest of time, why do you think it is the case for the government, the current regime, whereby it is sort of a tall order for them to admit failure, even when systems are not working, like the nation's preparedness towards disaster, like the current floods ravaging the country, the health sector crisis? Why does it seem to be a tall order for them to admit failure as the first step towards diagnosing the problem?
They are not leaders. Any leader worth the salt must accept where they go wrong. They must accept failure and even apologize. But they are not leaders. These are dealers. And the mistake Kenyans made was to elect businessmen into offices that they now enhance their businesses, but they don't lead and they don't need you. In fact, some of them I know, they are saying after these 5 years, Kenyans can go wherever they want to go. They have made enough money. They are not leaders, they are dealers. And in future, watch. Spend more time electing leaders. Don't elect businessmen. I'm not saying businessmen are all bad. But if somebody gets into an office and his motive is to make money at the expense of public trust, that person is not a leader. It's just... Actually, to call them businessmen is even elevating them. These are merchants.
Merchants?
Merchants. You remember the Merchant of Venice?
True.
That Nyerere translated into Kiswahili, wapepare wa Venice. Hawa ni wapepare wa Kenya. That is what they are. And giving them, even calling them businessmen, you are making them look decent.
Buccaneers?
Eh?
Buccaneers, perhaps?
I don't know, but I like calling them wapepare. Yeah, wapepare wa Kenya.
Merchants.
And merchants. You know, merchants, they sell anything, and they don't even keep to any rules. They are selling you a cup today, they are selling you something else tomorrow, and you tell them even about shoes, they will go and hustle somebody from the road, bring you shoes.
Anything goes for them.
Anything goes for them as long as they are making money.
But do you think the president of a country that is committed and sort of wants to poise itself to be the Singapore of Africa can sit back and allow merchants to run the economy?
But that's his deep state. That is his deep state. How can you take somebody to an organization that they had a case in court together to make him the chairman of that particular organization? You know, if I have a court, let's say I have a case court, a court case with AFC, for example, and you take me to be the chairman of AFC, do you expect AFC to still raise the same issues? Or how am I going to resolve my own case before I resolve other people's cases?
Then that somewhat implies that the president might be ignorant of what this could make of his legacy.
Well, he may not be ignorant. He thinks things will be resolved. You see, William Ruto has never lost an election. He won as MP for Eldoret North, I think twice, 3 times. He won as a deputy president with Uhuru twice. He tried for the first time and he won. He doesn't expect that any problem will ever arise that will confront him in a way that he will not be able to solve. And at times when he realizes he's in trouble, they spend time praying. And possibly those prayers have been answered because they expected him to change for the better. But I'm worried.
You're worried?
I'm worried. I'm worried because he doesn't seem to respect the capacity of Kenyans to discern and to see through some of their mischiefs. Yeah.
Talking matters to do with part of the mischief from the side of government, a subject that has been highly emotive is that to do with the CAS appointments. And this we have seen sort of the parliament of the day having given the president the green light to appoint the CAS. Much as we are trying to address the wage bill crisis as a country, we seem to be also leading a parallel endeavor to balloon the same wage bill. Do you think that the government is preaching water and on the other hand drinking wine if the CAS appointment is anything to go by?
Yeah, I think they are drinking whiskey.
Not even wine?
Yeah, wine is softer. They are preaching water and drinking whiskey. in water bottles. That's the way I see it.
We are having a conversation toying around that to do with the need for us to purchase another presidential jet.
You know, some of these people should be caned by public outrage.
That came from the Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah.
No, I don't think Kimani is serious. Why should you purchase a jet? What you can even do is to hire whenever the president wants to go somewhere. Is he going to be permanently in the air? Or are they going to purchase a jet that will be used for normal flights and at a cost effective level? Or are they just purchasing it so that he feels that it's like I have another car outside waiting for me when I want to go to Kitale? Mm-hmm. No, I think this is time, and that is actually an insult to public intelligence. Mm-hmm. It's an insult to public intelligence because it's the wrong time to talk about it. Mm-hmm. What we should be hearing is after the challenge that we went through the other day, mm-hmm. losing our CDF, we want to hear, is it that the machine that we have is obsolete? Mm-hmm. Is the service in tandem mm-hmm. with the requirements of local and international standards? Mm-hmm. Those are the things we should hear mm-hmm. because we want our soldiers to be safe. Mm-hmm. We want even the president to be safe. Mm-hmm. He could have been the one using that chopper that particular day.
True.
So those are things we should hear. Mm-hmm. But purchasing another jet, do you know how much it is? You know, a chopper alone ranges between 200 million to 600 million, even upwards. To almost $1 billion. Mm-hmm. A jet is just many times more expensive than that. Mm-hmm. Presidential jet, they can be hiring.
So there is need for the government to have the gift of discernment, whereby as at now we should be discussing about maybe the health sector crisis,
yeah,
paying our doctors instead of talking about CAS appointments and the presidential jet.
Those are things that should come when there is bonus. Mm-hmm. Yeah, even for you and I, one or two cars or several cars.
True.
But then at times you can sell a car to resolve a problem, then buy another car after 1 year or so. So this is the time they should be selling some of the assets that are not of strategic importance to be able to resolve the crisis, but not buying a jet. You know, a jet is almost equal to the funding of a parastatal for more than 5 years. Yeah.
Very well. And if now that we're toying around with the conversation about having the CAS appointments see the light of day, probably look into the remuneration of our members of parliament, do you think that sort of in the face of other civil servants, let's talk about the teachers and doctors, we are sort of making them look like children of a lesser god before the eyes of the government?
You know, the main problem, and this is what I see with members of parliament, is this money called CDF. And the money for roads for various constituencies. I think that is where there is a lot of wastage. For example, in a constituency like Myron, Cherangani,
sure.
What comes through CDF is about 150,000 million every year.
Per financial year?
Yeah, every financial year. Now, and if you are to do an audit of those funds, almost 90% of the MPs will be in jail.
They would be in jail?
They would be in jail.
Shimolatewa?
Wherever. Yeah, possibly we can build another one around Moss Bridge. So that these guys, you know, because for the 20 years I was an MP, the most that we got was the last 5 years, we got like 100 million. And there is evidence of what we did with that money. Today, 150. Then there is for bursary. There is for roads. And you don't have evidence of any improvement of those particular issues. Today you still find children coming to me, going to other politicians, other leaders, asking for fees, even 2,000, 1,000, 3,000. Where is the bursary money going to? Where is the money for roads? You find a road, of course there are different classes of roads.
True.
There are some roads which should actually be funded by the constituency money, the Maram roads. Those roads, they have been the same disrepair conditions for more than 2 years, 3 years. And when they do it, they just do it around the village where they are more popular. They leave the other villages. So I feel that is where there is wastage. Because I don't believe an MP should be presiding over implementation of projects. Otherwise, he's compromising his role as a representative of the people, as a legislator, and defender of the people's rights. Because they are becoming now semi or quasi-executive. That money should be going to Cherangani, but to be presided over by a committee, possibly domiciled at the office of the governor. But that money should be audited, so that if you say 150 million came to Cherangani, we should see it on the ground.
Very well.
Yeah.
As a parent and also as a senior citizen, do you think, and you are a parent, you've invested in the education of your children, and if you look at the current crisis, the government talking about ballooning public wage, and do you think parents are recouping the investments in education this far? Your child getting job in the civil service, do you think their efforts are commensurate with what they're earning?
Well, not quite, because you see, the issue is when there is a huge wastage, and that's why wage bill, if it is paying people, and those people are working, that should not be a problem. The problem is you are paying people who are not working, and they are not there. So when you say the wage bill is huge compared to what? To the revenue you are collecting. Which means either you are not collecting enough revenue. Why? It's because of the wrong policies that you have put in place, and companies are relocating from Kenya, and there is capital flight out of our economy, and therefore you have to collect less. Because if you've been plowing 100 acres, I like using land, and all of a sudden you are plowing 10 acres, you don't expect to get the same revenue as you are getting from 100 acres. And you cannot keep the same workers, because when you are applying 100 acres, there are people who are driving the tractor, others are doing one or two things. So at the end of the day, they are being gainfully employed. But if your capacity to produce has gone down, and you are still keeping the same workers, then there is a problem.
Very well.
Yeah.
Well, that point by Kipruto Arap Kira takes us to the wrap of this conversation today, talking matters to do with the ballooning wage bill and the response of the government regarding the same subject and what has come out of it in the recent days. It is always an honor to have you on board. We don't take your support for granted. Tune in to our other editions on the channel with Jadiel Kabiro, Evans Okenye, and yours truly here. And also for Kipruto Arap Kira, it's always a distinct privilege to have you on board.
It's always my pleasure, and I thank God I'm still able to serve my country in my own private way. Thank you.
We are eagerly waiting for your book. Don't make it come way later when you're too old to even read a line out of it.
No, I hope it will be capturing the essence of my life, and I hope people will learn something, one or two, to improve their own lives. Because I always believe a book is only useful if it can create an impact to society. And I've been delaying it purposely because of the fact that if I was to write a book, how many will I write? Now, this life I've led outside politics, about 15 years or so, or 17 years, is also a useful period. So that those who get to politics know that one day they will get out of politics, and when they get out of politics, what have I been doing for the last 17 years? I've been doing something. That's why I'm still around. So that experience is also very important for purposes of the book. But if I was to write until I was minister, then after that, what happened? I will need to write another volume.
True.
Yes, but I'm approaching 70, so I will write before I'm 70. I will release one.
Will I have a chapter in your book?
Yeah, you'll occupy a very, very favorable position. Or I might retain you as a footnote.
Asante sana. I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that time.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Until we meet next on Business Glide, do enjoy the rest of your viewing.